Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight, our guest is Edith Yang, registered dietitian nutritionist, board certified in renal nutrition, fellow of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, founder, owner, and operator of Healthy Mission Dietitian, Inc., renal cookbook author, dedicated to ethnic diversity in renal nutrition guidance. Edith's path to becoming a specialist and advising kidney patients about proper renal nutrition is very interesting. She did not start out to be in the renal space. She was actually a little afraid of our kidneys clinically and personally. The complexity of a kidney patient's condition, the uniqueness of our diets, and the unpredictability of kidney disease was worrisome. The thought of diet restrictions, dialysis, and our medications was quote unquote overwhelming to Edith. During her maternity leave, Edith decided that she would apply for a new job. She took a position in dialysis. She calls this, and I quote, the best decision that she ever made, unquote. Her life took a different path as she met with incredible patients, healthcare providers, and was able to make a positive impact on the lives of kidney patients. Her background in healthcare settings like hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, and dialysis centers allowed her to see firsthand patients like you and me struggling with the advanced stages of their illness, with little to offer besides medications to help them take control over their own health. This experience fueled her desire to open up her own practice, Healthy Mission Dietitian, Inc., where Edith and her staff stress adequate guidance and support for CKD patients before and after they begin dialysis. She has dedicated her life to the prevention and early stage management of chronic kidney disease with a team of culturally diverse dietitians who believe, quote, food is a power tool that is not only nourishment, but part of their joy, connection, and healing, unquote. The Healthy Mission Dietitian's approach is unique. Quote, in our practice, we take a whole person, culturally sensitive approach to help clients delay the progression of kidney disease and help them feel better in their bodies. Our goal is about empowering people with knowledge, support, and practical strategies that honor culture, lifestyle, and health goals. This comes from her website, healthymissiondietitian.com. And as you know, I do research on my guests before they come. Edith's broadcast is now pinned to the top of my personal Facebook page. All of my research is in the comments to the broadcast. That includes all the information about where you can reach her. We're going to show that again when we discuss that in the streaming part of the broadcast, but in case you want to look at it later, that's where you'll find it. Edith has over a decade of experience in helping people transform their lives through food. Her passion about making nutrition enjoyable, accessible, and evidence-based gives kidney patients like me access to practical nutrition information to help make informed decisions about their health. Please give a warm welcome to Edith Yang, an expert in renal nutrition. Edith, how are you this evening?
Hi, Jim. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction and for having me here. I'm super excited to be here and really looking forward to our conversation tonight.
Me too. Did I state everything correctly in the introduction?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Please tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your education, and your employment experiences.
So I've lived across the country, but most of my life has now been in Southern California. I went to school for my undergraduate degree at Cal State Long Beach, and then I actually also continued with my internship, my dietetic internship, also at Cal State Long Beach. And since then, I've worked in a variety of settings, most of which you've touched upon, and again, your lovely introduction of me. but it has been in long-term care facilities. I've consulted for children and adults that live in group homes, and these people had intellectual and developmental disabilities, dialysis, and now I'm in private practice. And throughout my career, I've mostly been really passionate about working with people in a meaningful and impactful way. I truly enjoy building those longer term relationships. So I think, as you can see in my experience, my work experience, it's been more in those settings that allow you to do that. In contrast, hospital settings, right, acute settings kind of don't really get to have that longer term relationship with patients and clients. So I prefer to have those relationships where I can offer longer term support and also just see where a client has gone on their journey. A lot of times people also, when they work with me, kind of thank me for all the work I do, but honestly, I give the credit back to the patient and the client. I'm the one that just provides the evidence-based guidance and information, but the person is the one that actually puts in the work. They're the ones that are going at it day to day, and I'm just there to give them the right information and cheer them on every step of the way.
Why did you become a dietitian? What led you to that?
I love food. If you ask my mom or my family, they constantly tell the story of me being the first one at the table, even as like a little toddler. I'm always ready to eat. And I just love food. I'm passionate about food. And I really now, through my life, through experience, understand that food is powerful. We eat, food breaks down, and it feeds our body. And that power of the food to heal, to connect, and empower. Food is also a big part of culture. In Chinese culture especially, we celebrate with food. We show love with food. And so it's just something that's just been a part of my life. And when I found out that a dietitian was an actual job, I got so excited and just dove right in. My path was shaped by a deep desire to help others feel good in their body, prevent and manage chronic illness, and just build a more confident and joyful relationship with food.
Wonderful. I'm hoping that you can help us define some terms. Let's start. What is a registered nutritionist?
So a registered dietitian nutritionist, and dietitian and nutritionist, I do kind of want to distinguish what that means and how they're used. But currently the term that for dietitians would be registered dietitian. And then some people can also like to use registered dietitian nutritionist. And essentially we are the food and nutrition experts. We have a minimum of a master's degree from an accredited dietetics program. And then we do need to complete supervised practice hours, and that's typically around 1,200 hours. After completing that, we then need to pass a national exam. And then to maintain our registration, we do need to partake in regular continue education or continuous professional development education throughout our career to maintain that. And I did want to differentiate this from people who just term or call themselves a nutritionist. Across the nation, the term nutritionist is not quite regulated by anyone. In many states, individuals can call themselves a nutritionist, and these people can be anyone without any formal education, any training or certification. There are some states, however, that do offer optional certifications. There are people who are certified nutrition specialists, and those people do require advanced education, a degree, supervised practice, and also passing an exam. In the state of California, the term nutritionist is unregulated, and basically anyone can call themselves this. So I wanted to point that out because I do find that people may not know that there is a difference. And so you may not know if the person that you're seeing is someone who does have a qualified background. I also do want to say, though, that not all nutritionists are necessarily not good or not well educated, but you do want to be careful with who you're working with. And so if they call themselves a dietitian, registered dietitian, then you can rest assured that they should have that proper background.
Okay, I noticed that you are board certified in renal nutrition. Can you please explain to us what that means?
Yes. So a board certified specialist in renal nutrition is a registered dietitian who's demonstrated specialized knowledge and experience in the field of renal nutrition. So we do more practice specialized in the renal field, and we're focusing on the nutritional needs of individuals with kidney disease. To obtain this certification, you have to do a minimum number of practice hours. You also had to have been a dietitian for at least 2 years and then document specific hours and practice in renal nutrition and then pass a specialized exam.
Okay. The other thing that I noticed, and this is the first on this broadcast, you're a fellow of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. What does it mean to be a fellow?
A fellow of the Academy is someone who is a member of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics who has made significant contributions to the field and to the Academy of Nutrition. So this is for people who volunteer or just push the profession, acknowledging putting in service and commitment to advancing the profession, but also promoting optimal nutrition and health for America.
Okay. I noticed that you're a certified LEAP, LEAP, all caps therapist. Can you explain what that is, please?
Yes. So a certified LEAP therapist is a dietitian who has completed a LEAP program. Not necessarily only dietitians can obtain this certification, but this is a specialization in identifying and managing food sensitivities to help clients manage chronic conditions. So as I mentioned before, I am a firm believer that like our food feeds our body, and we need to be aware of that and understand that. This type of certification utilizes a special test called the mediator release test, which is a blood test to identify specific food sensitivities. Because sometimes, although certain foods may be healthy and we deem them healthy, sometimes in our bodies, everyone's different and we may respond to foods differently, and it may cause a negative response or an inflammatory response in our body.
Did you start out wanting to be a renal dietitian, or did you want to do something else?
Definitely, renal was not on my vision board at all. Throughout schooling for becoming a dietitian, we weren't really given too much specific or in-depth information on kidney disease. And so it was one of those really complex conditions that I was afraid of. Also, at the time when I was in school, we were kind of told that once you have kidney disease or once your kidney is damaged, you couldn't really recover from that. So for me personally, I was just very worried. I was a little bit of a hypochondriac growing up. And so, to hear those things, you get anxious and nervous about that. On top of that, the diet is complex, right? Along with the condition being complex, the diet is complex. You just hear about potassium, protein, phosphorus, all these restrictions, and then thinking about dialysis, and then all the medications that people tend to be on. It was just really overwhelming. So it was just something that I was really afraid of. And then when I worked in long-term care, that was also something that I was really scared about too, because we did have patients who were also treating at a dialysis center. And again, because the training from my dietetic internship wasn't as in-depth, I just wasn't really sure what to do and where to go with that. So I was just worried about that.
Okay. I understand from the notes that you sent to me that during a maternity leave, you decided to change your career path to a position in dialysis. Can you tell us a little bit about why you changed your mind?
So during my maternity leave, I experienced postpartum depression and anxiety, and not quite sure what happened, but I just was at home with my child and I started looking for jobs around me. And I just made this random, unexpected decision to apply for a new job, which happened to be at a dialysis center. It was something that was unexpected, really surprised everyone in my entire family. No one was sure, like, why did I do this? What was happening? Why would I suddenly want to make a change? But looking back on it, it really was one of the best decisions I've ever made, because working in dialysis really has shaped how I view patient care and how I treat my patients. In this setting, it's one of the settings that nutrition is super duper important. I mean, nutrition is important in all settings, but I think in this particular setting, it's like extra, extra important. And in this setting, I had the opportunity to build meaningful relationships with patients and also with the healthcare team. And it was just such a collaborative thing. And I witnessed how powerful nutrition can be in improving the quality of life of the patients there. So being there really fueled my passion for early intervention and CKD prevention.
Okay. I read your LinkedIn profile. And by the way, folks, the link to her LinkedIn profile is in the notes to the broadcast. So if you want to check out the LinkedIn, that's where you can find Edith. I read in your LinkedIn profile that you began working for DaVita Kidney Care in March of 2018, and you stopped working for them in July of 2022. Can you tell us what were your duties and responsibilities while you worked with DaVita?
So when working at DaVita Dialysis, I was the primary dietitian at my dialysis clinic, and I also would support other clinics in the area as needed. But in general, all the patients were my patients, and I met with them at minimum once a month, but often more frequently, just to check in with them, also review their labs, and discuss anything related to food and nutrition, or even anything outside of that to help support them. I also made it a point that when a new patient came in, to introduce myself right away and talk to them, just because I know that coming into dialysis can be very overwhelming and very scary. My duties and responsibilities at the clinic included monitoring patient labs regularly, managing their mineral and bone health, electrolytes like potassium, supporting fluid and anemia management along with other team members, and then providing that nutrition education for patients, and then just working in a really close setting with the entire care team, which includes the patient care technicians, the dietitians, the social workers, and the nephrologists.
How would you characterize your experiences working with dialysis patients and healthcare providers? What kind of an impact did you make at that time?
My approach with the patients in the dialysis, and actually in all the settings that I worked with, it's always patient-centered. I take time to understand patients, where they're coming from, their lifestyle, their food preferences, and offer guidance and nutrition education in a way that honors their traditions while still managing and maintaining their health, and then also at a level that they can understand and realistically apply. And I would hope, and I feel like my impact during that time was just seen in improved happiness and quality of life in the patients, and also improvements in their labs, and enhanced patient engagement and increasing adherence to this diet, just because the kidney-friendly diet can be complex, can feel restrictive. And so being able to just make nutrition recommendations relevant and accessible and understandable to patients was really important. So for me, it was really rewarding to see patients feel heard, empowered, and understood through me providing them with that patient-centered care.
Okay. I read the notes that you sent to me during the time that you were working with dialysis patients. You noticed that many of the patients were not given adequate support and guidance about dealing with chronic kidney disease before they were placed on dialysis. Can you please explain what you meant by this?
A lot of the patients that I came across while working in dialysis often shared with me the story that they had no idea they had kidney disease until some were like in the late stages, maybe 4 or 5. They may have been told by their primary care physician and then quickly referred to a nephrologist. And then others were just started on dialysis emergently without any time to prepare at all. They just ended up in the hospital, and then all of a sudden they were told that they had end-stage renal failure or kidney disease and then had to be on dialysis. So it's just hard to hear that. How can we have something that could be, managed and prevented, or at least delay that progression earlier on? Why is it that patients are not told about this condition earlier on? Because if they have more guidance or more support, they can do things to slow the progression of the kidney disease and delay dialysis, which I do feel like most people, don't want to be on dialysis. So unfortunately, that was just kind of what I heard mostly in the clinics from the patients. And then if they were referred at stage 4 or 5, luckily they got referred to a nephrologist, but most of them don't get referred to a dietitian at all. So this gap in this like earlier intervention is something I'm really passionate about addressing. And that is why I came into this space.
Okay. From what I read that you sent to me, I understand that you were inspired to become part of the CKD prevention and early management contingent. Please explain what you felt was lacking and what you thought could be done for kidney patients.
So that earlier intervention, as I just said, to kind of, again, like let people know, educate people, even people at like a stage 1 or no stage at all, like just having people know that kidney disease is something that happens. It impacts like 10% of the world's adult population. It's a lot of people, but there just needs to be more education about prevention and nutrition support. There's just this major gap or lack of proper prevention or education there. And it's not just that information, it's that timely intervention that is really critical for patients to receive so that they can, again, avoid dialysis or avoid these complex complications that can occur when you do have kidney disease.
Okay. I understand that you started your own private practice called Healthy Mission Dietitian, Inc. in July of 2013 and currently have been in that business for over a dozen years now. What are the kinds of things that Healthy Mission does for its clients?
12 years. I can't believe it's already been so long since I've been a dietitian and started this. But our practice focuses on personalized, evidence-based nutrition care, which I know you've heard throughout this broadcast. We're an insurance-based private practice, and our mission is to provide accessible, culturally inclusive support for chronic disease management and prevention. So as kind of in the previous question, right, there's that gap about intervention, early intervention, screening, and prevention. So we're here trying to help patients before disease happens or before that disease progresses to at more advanced stages. And our team of dietitians work with clients of all ages. We're both in person and virtual, and well, for me, I specialize in kidney disease, and the other providers do specialize in other conditions. We work with people with diabetes, blood pressure, GI issues, food sensitivities, weight management, just to name a few things. And in our practice, we do one-on-one counseling. We also offer group programs, meal planning support, and educational resources for different health conditions, different backgrounds. And basically, though, the heart of what we do is just to help people feel better in their bodies and enjoy food again without having to feel restricted, but still building long-term sustainable habits so that they can live a happier and healthier life.
Okay. What is the street address where your business is located?
We're located in downtown Monrovia on Lemon Avenue and Myrtle. And then we also have a location in Arcadia. Visits are by appointment only.
Okay. And folks scrolling across the screen, there is the link to the Healthy Dietitian website, or Healthy Mission Dietitian website, healthymissiondietitian.com, and the phone number and the fax number. So after the broadcast, if you want to get in touch with Edith or her group, and you're interested in pursuing help with your diet, you have that information. And also, I know this is streaming across pretty quickly. If you go again to my Facebook page, Jim Myers, Myers, pinned to the top of that page is this broadcast. In the comments is all of my research, including the link and the information you need to find her business, healthymissiondietitian.com. Again, so don't worry if it's going too fast. Uncle Jim's looking out for you, so you can go directly to my page and get the information.
Jim,
One of
quick,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
The phone number that you have scrolling on the bottom has one incorrect digit. It's 626-268.
1353.
Yeah, 1353.
So it should be 268, not 208.
Correct.
Bad Uncle Jim. There'll be a new Uncle Jim on Monday.
It's Friday.
Someone that knows the difference between a 0 and a 6. One of the recurrent themes that I've seen on your website is that you stress the importance of a team of culturally diverse dietitians to work with an ethnically diverse group of patients. Please explain why this is important and how it benefits kidney patients.
Yes, great question. So I believe that having a culturally diverse team of dietitians is something really important because a lot of patients, we all come from different backgrounds. And when patients are able to meet with someone that they feel like aligns or is similar to them in culture or understands their culture and language and food tradition, it helps them to feel more confident. It builds that trust and makes care more effective. At the same time, too, being a dietitian of Chinese background, I know I can better understand patients' foods and like culturally what they need or what, you know, what they've grown up with and being able to adapt that. For kidney patients too, right? The diet is so complex and overwhelming. And while there are those kind of general recommendations for patients, it may not necessarily apply directly one-to-one for, especially if the education that we get here in America is based on an American diet, being, you know, applying that to someone of an Asian background, it may not be quite translated exactly like that. So being able to understand those nuances and make those recommendations in a context that's familiar to a patient, whether that be the ingredients or the cooking style or like even cultural eating practices, being able to have dietitians that come from those different backgrounds helps patients to feel supported and seen, and then allows them to make more meaningful changes without giving up the foods that they love, because they know that like this person understands me and my diet and what I need. So in the end, that representation matters, and it creates a safer, more inclusive space for the patients to feel more comfortable.
Okay. I noticed that your website includes blogs, and two of your recent blogs got my attention. Tell us a little bit about diabetes and rice.
Yeah. So my blog does have kind of covers like a wide variety of topics and different foods, but this particular one, it's about rice and diabetes, because oftentimes when someone is told that they have diabetes or insulin resistance or pre-diabetes, they often either are told by somebody or maybe read online or just kind of feel that they cannot have rice or bread or any sort of carb when they have diabetes, but this isn't the case. We do still need carbohydrates in our life. Carbohydrates give us energy, they fuel our body, and so they are important. But in this particular blog post, I was talking about how important that is and teaching people how to integrate rice into their diets without needing to feel guilty or feel like their blood sugar is going to be out of control.
Okay. The other thing that I saw in the blogs was how to use vegetables, a particular weakness of your Uncle Jim's. Tell us a little bit about vegetables.
So veggies, I think the blog post you're referring to is how to use veggies before they go bad, because I do, like most people, I think like veggies often tend to become like the last part of a meal that people think about. We often think about protein and then maybe a starch or carb, and then vegetables are kind of an afterthought. But people know that, you know, eating more vegetables is good for you, particularly for kidney patients. More vegetables is really beneficial for our body. And, but we have that good intention, but sometimes we put the veggies in a drawer and then they end up just kind of going to veggie heaven at the end of the week. So this blog post was just to give a bunch of fun and different and easy ideas for people to utilize their vegetables before they go bad, or save them before they kind of reach the end of their lives.
Okay. You have mentioned that at Healthy Dietitian, they take a whole person, culturally sensitive approach to help delay the progression of kidney disease. And I'm sharing the link there through your About section of your website. Can you please explain to us what you mean when you say that you want to empower your clients with knowledge, support, and practical strategies that honor their culture, lifestyle, and health goals. And can you give us specific examples?
Yes. So I believe that people are human and we need to honor and respect every person. And managing kidney disease shouldn't just be about the numbers or the lab values. It's really about the whole person. And this doesn't only apply for kidney disease, but for everything across the board. So what that means is taking the time to understand a client's culture, their lifestyle, their personal goals, and creating a realistic plan that works for them, not just something that's just on paper, you know, XYZ, do this, this, and this, but it needs to be realistic and applicable. So an example would be many of my patients come from an Asian or Hispanic background. And so we're not going to be there telling them to stop eating their cultural foods, right? We're not going to tell them no, 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 and eat like an American diet. But instead, we like to show our patients or the people we work with how to adapt their traditional dishes in a kidney-friendly way, adjusting the portion sizes, cooking methods, seasonings. Work together with them to modify some of their favorite foods so that we can still keep that flavor, that culture, but finding a way that helps support them, you know, with their overall health and wellness goals. And taking the time to understand the person that we're working with, because we're all human, and know that like their lifestyle impacts, right? Like if they're working all day and they don't have time to do things, like how can we modify things so that it applies to them and is realistic without adding an additional stressor into their lives. And then we also take the time to educate our clients about their labs and what they mean. So kind of going through each item of concern so that they can feel empowered and overwhelmed, because like when you get your labs done, there's just so many numbers and some of them are abnormal or like bright red, and you kind of maybe not getting that time with another healthcare provider to really understand what those numbers mean and how what you're doing with food or lifestyle are impacting those numbers. So as a dietitian working with patients, we are allowed to have a little bit more time to really provide that applicable and realistic ongoing support. And in our practice, we love, and like I mentioned earlier about like my career and just being in those, building those longer lasting relationships, we offer multiple sessions. And our ultimate goal is to help clients feel empowered, because they're the ones living the lives and they're the ones going out there. And so they should be able to know how to make those good choices without constantly having to refer to something. So I just want them to be confident in their own health journey.
Okay. I saw that you're also an author, that you've written a book called Renal Diet Cookbook for Beginners, like your Uncle Jim, 75 Simple Recipes to Help Manage Chronic Kidney Disease. Please tell us about the book. Why did you write it and how does it help kidney patients?
So this opportunity actually was kind of something that fell into my lap. I was approached by the publishing company to write the Renal Diet Cookbook for Beginners. I think that this company recognized that there was a gap in evidence-based practical cookbooks that were created by a registered dietitian. And so I believe that their goal, as well as mine, was to create a resource that helps people with kidney disease understand how to eat in a way that supports their health without feeling overwhelmed or deprived. So in the book, it starts with kind of like, what is CKD, that information and education piece about what chronic kidney disease is, nutrients that we may need to watch out for, and discusses how nutrition plays a role in managing kidney disease. And then there's 75 easy to follow recipes that covers kind of a different cuisines and then also different cooking levels. So hopefully there's something for everyone in there. And then in the book, there's also a 7-day sample meal plan that utilizes the recipes from the book, just to show how a kidney-friendly diet can come together, because we can kind of get a bunch of recipes, but kind of putting that together into a weekly meal plan is sometimes a challenge for people. And my ultimate goal for having this resource was, again, to just make that kidney nutrition approachable and empowering for beginners and patients, and also their caregivers too.
Okay. And I have that scrolling across the screen now. And the link that I utilized is the link where you can find this book on Amazon. Edith, where's the best place to buy your book?
believe it's sold where all books are sold, but I think Amazon may be easier. But if you can also find it on other book websites.
Okay. And there's the overlay with the cookbook, so what it looks like. So, get the right book. Don't get the wrong book while you're,
Yeah,
while you're
there are
checking
a lot
things
of books
out.
out there. There are a lot of books out there, and just make sure you can get this one. But I also, other ones that are written by renal specialist dietitians is what I would encourage.
All right. You've also done some instructional videos. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And the one video that I saw that really knocked me out was the one that you did for the AAKP entitled "Love Your Kidneys: Optimal Nutrition for Overall Health." What kidney-friendly diet recommendations did you make? And the thing that I noticed the most, I'm one of these guys that was diagnosed in the 80s, and you were showing old diet versus modern diet. Well, when I originally was instructed, I was one of the old diet guys, you know, chicken without any skin on it and not very much, and maybe, one green bean or something to eat. And then you were showing the modern day diet. Can you tell us a little bit about all that?
Yeah, I really had so much fun during that broadcast with AAKP. It was for Valentine's Day, so that's why it's like Love Your Kidneys. But that one, yeah, so older information, or what kind of we knew or didn't know in the past, was that the renal diet needed to be something that was highly restrictive, very bland, white rice, chicken, carrots, maybe green beans, I think was like the two vegetables, at least like in the hospital and long-term care settings. I kind of often saw that was kind of the two things in rotation. But now there's newer research that's showing us that a more plant-forward diet and a more colorful diet can actually be more beneficial for renal patients. So everyone's going to be a little bit different on what they need, but in general, a plant-forward approach to diet, one that tastes good and is very nutrient dense, is going to be the one that's going to be helpful for your, not only your kidneys, but also for all your other organs as well. So if you're managing other conditions, that can be helpful. And then on YouTube, I'm not quite savvy with video editing and all that stuff. I do offer a custom meal planning support, cooking and support. And with that, I do like a monthly cook along for the people that I work with that do have that additional support. And I try to walk through simple health conscious recipes via the platform Eat Love that I use for my clients. And just to show how easy it is that you can build healthy, balanced plates that fit within your health and wellness goals. For the meal planning platform I use, I put in specific nutrition prescriptions for my patients so that they can put together meals and recipes that align and fit within their nutrition prescription. And then so actually I do that live with my patients, and I do share that on YouTube just so that people can also kind of get a glimpse into what that meal planning looks like and how simple and quick and easy, nutritious, heavy, veggie heavy dishes can be.
Okay, and I want to show people that's what the AAKP video looks like. So you have the link screaming across your screen, and you found the right one. This is the AAKP video for that. That's what it looks like. The other one I wanted to ask you about that kind of got my attention was something you did about a year ago for Yumlish entitled Care Interventions for Vulnerable Populations. Can you tell us what was that video all about?
So Yumlish, if you're not familiar, is a digital health platform dedicated to improving nutrition and chronic disease outcomes among multicultural and low-income populations through culturally relevant education and support. So they approached me to be on this podcast episode of theirs, and we focus on how nutrition can be a powerful tool to prevent and manage chronic kidney disease, especially in underserved communities. So in this episode, I did share my journey, similar to how we've talked today, about working with kidney disease patients and highlighting the gaps that I've often seen in care, such as, again, patients not being told they have the kidney disease until late stages and then not receiving any nutrition support or guidance. And like we're doing today, talking about how important early intervention, cultural competence, and person-centered care is really important. And then we also talked about food, lifestyle, and the importance of also good support systems can influence a patient's or a person's outcomes, and why that representation in nutrition is especially important. So ultimately, sum it all up, the goal was just to empower people with clear strategies that they can use to work with the proper healthcare providers to help delay and manage their kidney disease and improve quality of life.
Okay, and that video on YouTube looks like that. There's our friend Edith. So, wonderful job, by the way, that you did on that AAKP video. Really knocked me out. Just a terrific video. Let's talk about what's going on in the future for you and your company. Are you doing any presentations, webinars, videos, any instructional material, meeting with patients? What do we have to look forward to from Edith in the future?
So I have like tons of ideas and want to do so much and create so much more information, content, and all that good stuff for people. Currently working on some self-paced programs that focus on wellness and culturally tailored nutrition strategies for those with kidney disease, focusing on more communities that are underrepresented in traditional care. And so hopefully having those self-paced courses can allow people to access education kind of on the time that they have or in a way that's easier for them. As far as like webinars and broadcasts, maybe something towards the end of the year on plant-based nutrition for kidney disease. And then recently I was at the National Kidney Foundation spring clinical meetings where I talked about how important medical nutrition therapy is in chronic kidney disease care, something I'm deeply passionate about, if you can't tell. And then looking ahead, I would like to create, again, more accessible and educational content for YouTube. I may need to ask you, Jim, for some tips and tricks on making videos and editing. I love what you're doing with all these overlays, so fancy. So I've got lots of ideas and resources to share, just kind of need to build upon that and kind of find time to create that content.
No, I'm happy to help any way that I can, Edith. You just let me know what you need.
Thank you.
Do you have any final statements that you wish to make to our audience before we conclude the broadcast for the evening?
Yes. So thank you again for having me and for listening to me while I talk during this broadcast. I want to encourage everyone listening to be proactive in their health journey. Know that your nutrition care plan or your overall health care plan doesn't need to be restrictive. It can be joyful. It should be joyful. Food should be nourishing our body, and food and nutrition should be reflective of your personal preferences and your own cultural traditions. Don't be afraid to ask questions and seek out providers who align with your values and understand your background. And also, as a note, I accept insurance in my private practice, not because insurance is fun, but because I know that we need more stuff to be more accessible to patients. And just a reminder that you may have nutrition therapy benefits with your health insurance plan. So don't miss out on that support that you can have. And if you are looking for a renal specialist, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics has a renal practice group, which has a list of renal dietitians, as well as the National Kidney Foundation also has a list of renal dietitians, and you can find someone who's within your geographical area. You can also work with dieticians virtually, so that doesn't limit you, especially if you're in a space that may not have renal dietitians. And just remember that whether you're managing a condition or you're just focused on prevention, working up with a dietitian is something that I really advocate for, not just because I'm a dietitian, but just because food is such an important part of our lives. And with that proper food, diet, and lifestyle support, you can feel your best for the long run And I just want to cheers to everyone to have a happy and healthy life full of good food and empowered choices. And I want to thank you again, Jim, for having me here today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on and educating us and sharing your story and answering all my silly questions. I think that we've definitely raised some awareness tonight about where you can find a proper dietitian and a nutritionist. I think we've raised some awareness about the kinds of things that people should be looking for in a dietitian, the kinds of things that kidney patients can eat, and the things that benefit us. And it doesn't have to be like it was when I first started as a kidney patient, where you're looking at the plate and there's more plate than there is food. So just really a great broadcast, and I appreciate so much you taking time. I have some things I have to button up with my audience, and I've kept you for over 45 minutes, Edith, and I know your time is valuable. So I'm going to excuse you from the broadcast. And again, I just want to say thank you for taking time to raise awareness with us tonight.
Thank you, Jim. It was a pleasure to be here, and I wish everyone a happy day.
Yeah, everybody have a good Easter tomorrow or Sunday. Today's Friday, Jim. Okay, well, thank you so much, and I appreciate you coming on to speak with us. So, next Friday, April 25th, we're talking with Dr. Pranav Gramala. He is the American Kidney Chef Medical Officer for the American Kidney Fund, and he started in January of 2025. He's also a researcher in PKD. He's one of these guys that's looking for a cure for polycystic kidney disease, and that's kind of exciting. So it should be a very interesting broadcast. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is that there are advocates that are needed currently for the Kidney Can group. They're a group that works with kidney cancer patients. If you go to my personal page, again, you'll see a post there for Kidney Can, and it lists the particular politicians and their districts that they are looking for help. And if you go to my groups after the weekend, you'll find that posted in every single group that I have. So, we're actively looking for advocates, and we hope that, you are willing to help out. And, it's a very good cause, as a result of a recent law that's been passed and reconciliation through the Congress. A lot of funding for kidney cancer research has been lost, and we want to get that funding back. So we need advocates to help us do that. And, we're hopeful that you would be willing to help out. So that is our broadcast for the evening. I thank you for tuning in. Please like and share the replay. Pass it around a little bit so people can see it. And have a happy Easter. And I thank you for watching. And we will see you next week.